it doesn't conflict with what they're doing, and from a time point of view and an ethics point of view. So I mean, that could be up to you. If you felt that you wanted to make it a total full-time job and not allow any other employment, that's fine. If you felt that you wanted to allow people to do other employment, that's fine. If you wanted to allow the Mike Bloombergs of the world to turn down the salary and just do it for $1 a year, but Mike doesn't have another job. I mean, Mike may have a business. What?
Well, I mean, you have to define what a job is. If you're saying a job is defined by a weekly salary, Mike might not have a job.
Yeah.
But Mike receives dividends from his business,
right,
which you can still take out as much or more than he would take out salary.
Right. But I don't think Mike Bloomberg goes to Bloomberg Communications and sits there. Maybe he has kind of I don't know. I don't know anything about that.
I mean, the point Robert is asking with the definition of answer is we'd have to define it. Yeah. The definition of full-time, and therefore a business person or someone else saying, oh, I got to do this to go do this. And so that's one of the things
to justify it would be the better law of the city of New York State to suggest we have part-time mayor, for example. Maybe a part-time council president.
We do have a part-time council.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
If I recall correctly, this Charter Revision Commission discussed in detail career politicians and how, since our thrust of things that we eventually try to bring to the public has bearing on the appearance or the integrity of a higher quality and standard of government. I wonder, I don't know if 2 terms ago, if you recall us having major conversations about career politicians. So my question is simply this: does making the city council president and possibly after that city council members might request the same, does this foster career politicians?
I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with career public service. I can't think of a higher calling in life than public service, maybe the clergy. But I mean, that's what I trained for. I mean, I went to college, BA in economics and political science. I got a master's in public administration. I got a law degree, and I want to serve the public. That's my call.
I have a few questions. What does the current council president make a year?
$65,000 is what the current council salary is, roughly this.
And what was your proposed? Do you have any idea what
I didn't really come forward focusing on the money. I focused on the full-time. But I mean, commissioners make about $120,000 a year in the city. The mayor makes $140,000. If you want to look at New York City council members, they make also about $115,000 a year. And again, I said earlier that a New York City council seat is smaller than the city of Yonkers, so therefore smaller than the council seat. There was an issue that I actually discussed about how does a council member get a raise these days, because the charter says that you can't vote for a raise that will kick in during your term. But since we have staggered terms, does that mean that if the council were to vote, let's say, in November of 2007, that couldn't kick in until January of 2010, when everybody on the council was off their current term? Or would you argue that even though only...
We don't want you guys to get anyways.
Right. Or would you argue... Well, frankly, what used to happen, and I would be very comfortable with this, would be is if you set some standard for council salaries and pegged it to some civil service standard, you know, a GS-10, whatever it is, figure out what it is, and whenever those standards go up and down, that's what the council members would make. You know, make it pegged to a commissioner salary, whatever it is.
To be clear, we're not talking about a quick item.
I was not talking about specific salaries, and I did not come to this table to do that.
No, I was just you wanted to deliberate the issue of how city council people get raised.
I was just raising the question with you, which is, under your interpretation of the charter, do you feel that if the council would have voted itself a raise in December of 2007, would that kick in January of 2008, or would you have to wait another 2 years? And if so, do you want to correct that?
Not a question we answer. We don't answer questions of how to interpret the charter unless we're to say if there's something wrong with the charter. So I'm saying you can raise it and say we should look at that specific issue, or look at that issue, or we don't.
I guess my question is, if...
Because you'll never get a raise.
If-
Right.
You'll always have 3 council
Yeah.
people
Right.
every 2 years. You'll never get a council approval.
Yeah.
Because there'll always be 3 people.
Right. If
Right.
Steve Barshoff and Frank Rubino opine that the way the charter is currently set up, that's a problem, then I'd ask you to fix it. If it's not a problem, don't fix it.
By the way, Steve Bosshart doesn't say what's a problem. He answers to the charter asking him a question.
Okay. But he can interpret what the current charter is.
But you said if he says it's a problem, there's no problem if we don't say to him there's a problem.
Okay. If he and Frank interpret the situation to be the way I explained it, and you think it's a problem, then fix it. If either
Have you
it's
tried
not the
have you
way...
tried to administer it at all?
No, we haven't even talked about racism.
I'm saying, I hear what you're saying. I was just wondering if you tried to do something and it got bumped back because of...
No, I have not raised the question. I was just, in the course of this conversation, and I think we had a conversation a while back where I threw that out as a problem, a hypothetical,
Right.
and I said, how does the city council vote itself a raise for staggered term? Another thing, by the way, that boggles my mind is when it comes to redistricting, how are we going to redistrict after the 2010 census, when normally what happens is in the subsequent election, you redraw the council lines to accommodate the population shifts. But if you only elect half the council every few years, do you redraw half the lines and not the others? Or do you redraw all the lines, have an election, and half the council members wind up representing areas of the city that they were not elected to represent?
So
Again,
one of the
Okay.
ways we try to operate here, Chuck, is that someone puts out the issues, gives us the problem, we go get some information from Steve, and we come back. And so that last thing
That's
now
another-
is number 6. Are we doing that one? Is that one you're proposing we look at?
Yeah, look at it.
Oh, good.
Look at it.
Okay,
And I
so
don't-
then I'm asking you, for you to ask us to look at something, what I'm asking you to do is form the issue for us
Okay.
and submit it to us.
Yeah.
And Chuck, would you please email, so we have a 5 and a 6, and 5 is have city council.
We don't have a 5 and a 6 yet.
Well,
Okay, we have,
would you email 1, 2, 3, 4?
Sure.
So that along with the minutes, I can send this package?
and then he can submit another letter to myself and Steve Barshoff saying, on behalf of the charter, saying you'd like us to look at those other issues. Or, if we don't do that, this group can sit and say, we've heard Chuck ruminate about these last 2 issues, do we want to take them up?
And lastly, are there any additional expenses paid or additional reimbursements for salary that currently get? You got extra meetings or the stipends or extra?
No.
No committee,
No. County Board of